Welcome back again. We're down in the basement. Alan, Bob, me, Andrew. We're all hanging out down here, having a couple frosty beverages again. Today's pretty interesting. We got a little harder stuff than we've been listening to lately. No more dead dogs. And
that last one was rough.
No more country music.
Come on, guys.
No more country music for a little bit, I guess. But we're going to be talking about Stone Temple Pilots.
Whoop, whoop.
A little band from California. They started in 1989. When I was in my prime, they were all over like flies on you-know-what. You couldn't turn on the radio. You couldn't turn on MTV without hearing them. Of course, they're known for Scott Weiland, who passed away in 2015.
Shane, what a great vocalist.
Great vocalist. Great
heroine.
Stageman.
Yeah.
Great presence on stage. I mean, just great songwriter, too.
Yeah.
Although we'll get into that a little bit. But this is Alan's album, so he's going to tell us why he chose this and why we're going to talk about it.
All right. So, guys, I brought this album to you this week because back in the 90s, I spent a lot of time on the road. So, spent a lot of time listening to music, deep into all different genres. And I had stopped listening to these guys probably around 2000. So it's been a good 20 years since I've listened to them. So when we were talking about what the
20
idea,
years.
Yeah, right. So the whole concept of this show is to challenge each other, like you said in the last episode, broaden our horizons, but also nostalgia, trip down nostalgia lane. Okay. So I thought, am I going to resonate with this band the way I did in the 90s? Okay. So this album was released in 1992. And again, I haven't listened to it in 20 years.
And we're talking Core, by the way.
Yeah,
Is
Core.
this their first?
The first one.
Yeah,
Yes,
that's
the first one. It's the
yeah.
one that catapulted them, okay? So now, I didn't want to listen to it. Even though I picked it for all the right reasons. So I was like, man, I just don't.
You didn't want to ruin it for yourself?
Why didn't you want to listen to it?
Because I was afraid that
You wouldn't like it?
I was afraid I wasn't going to like it. Have you ever been, because this was a big album for me. I wouldn't say it was important, but it was a big album, right? So I throw it on. Man, did it take me back. Okay, let me tell you what I was doing in 1990.
I was going to say, what did a young Alan do in 1992?
So I had the Eddie Vedder hairdo, all one length, shoulder length, right? I was wearing some sort of flannel pullover, right? And
so you look like your son minus the muscles.
that's right. My son, for those of you out there in the ether, my son is about 6 foot right now.
It's kind of Glenn Danzig-ish.
Yes.
Then Glenn Danzig-ish.
Pushing 220, works out every night. He's massive, got this huge, massive hair that's shoulder length, and he pulls it back in. Sometimes he lets it go, but I like it when he just lets it go. But sometimes he pulls it back in that little samurai knot thing, and it's so cool. So,
And to top it off, he's in a death metal band.
that's right. Which, I can't wait to tell that story coming up someday, but I got to play bass in his death metal band here a while back. So, but anyway, so...
Oh, that means he played the B string all the
Yeah,
time.
over and over and over. Never got off the B string.
He made it better.
So, young Alan, right? I was 23 years old, something like that, and I had just started doing stand-up comedy. Okay? And just getting the first few gigs on the road, which we called hell gigs. So what that means is you drive 500 miles.
Pretty self-explanatory.
That's right. You do
Can't
500
imagine that.
miles. Then you do a one-nighter in like...
For what, like 5 minutes?
For Bob's Shake Shack, you get $100, and you go another 500 miles to Andrew's,
Rib Shack.
Rib Shack, and then if you're lucky, you end up in a real comedy club on Friday night, right? And we call them hell gigs, right? Because whatever money you made that night, you spend it on gas and food the next
to
morning.
go the next one.
Right? So I just started doing that. So I spent a lot of time on the road, and literally when I heard this, I had the hair. I was wearing the flannel. I was in my 1991 Ford Ranger that was...
Ooh, a Ford Ranger. You were
Ford-
riding in style.
Yeah, man, I'm telling you. And it was that aquamarine blue that they had back in the 90s.
Yeah.
And I was on the road. I was probably...
Comedian's ride there.
Yeah, I was probably somewhere in the Midwest or maybe even I don't know, man. I
Let
literally
me ask you, did you have the cassette player where it
Yeah,
stopped on the song, or did you have to stop it and find the song? I had the fancy one where you could fast forward and it stopped.
Oh no,
right
yeah,
on.
yeah, it was
Okay.
that one. Yeah, yeah,
That's
yeah,
a
yeah.
fancy
I was
one.
like, what were you
That's
talking
the
about?
fancy one.
Yeah, man, how technology has grown. So that's what I was doing in 1992 when I listened to this, and when this first song came on, Dead and Bloated, okay, I smelled it. I saw the sunshine through the windshield. I felt it. I felt 23 again.
That's what music is supposed to do.
Yes. Yeah, it's not supposed to make me cry because a dog died.
Even though the song's called Dead and Bloated.
Good, he could be talking about us. Damn, he could be talking about his dog that died. I hate these songs.
Well, that's a good segue because one thing about him is I don't know what the lyrics are about half the time, but I don't really care because they fit and he's a great singer.
So, and that's something to say. Andrew and I have talked about this before. I get frustrated if lyrics don't make sense, okay? If they're nonsensical, but then I got to thinking, well, hell, I'm a huge fan of the Melvins. If you've ever listened to the Melvins,
Oh, yeah.
it's nonsensical. What you're listening to on the Melvins is the groove and the music. The vocals are just like, we need vocals here, so we're not an instrumental band, right? That's what they're doing here. Even though
Do you know why Frank? Do you know that's why Frank Zappa does those lyrics?
the crazy
He
stuff.
said the only reason I put lyrics in is because Americans won't listen to instrumental music, so I put lyrics in.
Yeah. Well, I love it
Because he's a composer. So
Yeah, that's a good
He goes,
point.
the only way you can get on the radio is to have the lyrics, so I put all those crazy lyrics in.
Yeah, interesting. So while none of these songs make sense lyrically, okay, none of them make take time with a wounded hand because it likes to heal. So, but this one, when you listen to this, what I get out of this is kind of like Andrew said on a couple of these, is that it's got balls. I mean, you're just like, yes, I'm living. It makes you want to groove. Halfway through this, I was walking around the house. I had it on the speaker, and I'm like, yeah, this is freaking awesome. Loved it. So I was not disappointed.
Well,
So-
that's good.
I see the look on Bob's face, so I'm going to save you for last, Bob.
You're gonna save me for last? Okay.
Because the look on your face, because you always, you're hard to read.
Can't tell, can you?
You're hard to read. Andrew?
I have a slightly different. I kind of have a same but different approach. Mine, when they were out back then, because they were just so popular and just so all over the place, and it was unbelievable. They were just oversaturated, and I knew there was something there, but I couldn't listen to them because that's all you heard all the time.
Yeah.
And as you so graciously pointed out, it's been 20 or so years since then. So listening to it after not hearing that, I realized kind of what a great band they were.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, they were really a good band. One thing I didn't realize was how good the drummer and the bass player
Oh,
are.
yeah, they locked
They have
in,
a
man.
really hard low end.
Yeah.
And I think one thing about the guitar player too is, although they have that crunch, he's got like a kind of a high crunch that kind of cuts through
Yeah.
the drums and bass.
Yeah.
And it's like a clean distortion. It's
Yeah.
not just like let me like blow your eardrums out. It just gives it an edge. And they're a lot cleaner than I thought. They're just hard and clean. And I really like the sound.
Every song, I love the tone.
Yeah.
Man, just the tone of these guitars. And you know, the bass player and the guitar player are brothers.
Yes. Yep. That's
Yeah.
right. Yep.
Yeah. So,
We're brothers.
well, or I don't know.
Yeah.
I get. I mean, I don't know if they're dead or alive, but I think they're still touring.
Yeah,
though,
they're
with
touring.
a
They have a new
different-
singer. I don't know
Yeah.
who the singer is.
And talking about Scott Weiland, as a vocalist, I mean, the cat had range,
oh yeah,
and he played in another band, Velvet Revolver, with Slash. That
that was really good too.
but it was a different flavor of band.
Yep.
But great.
If he could only kept it together,
I
man.
know,
if
but he
could
was
have just
always-
kept it together.
he would miss shows because he was strung out
Yeah.
on heroin and all that, and so ultimately that's what got him. But for me, there's one song on here I hate, and I'll have to look and kind of refresh my memory which one it is. But every song on here made me move. Every song.
That's one thing too. I didn't realize they came out in that grunge era, but I don't think they're really a grunge band.
Mm-hmm.
I was surprised at how it's more of a groove, and I think that's
Yeah.
what makes it hard.
Yeah.
Like the drummer and the bass player are just more like they kind of just keep pounding your head in, but not in a heavy way. Just keep consistently like beating your head in a great way.
Yeah.
I loved it. I was surprised at how much I liked them because I was not a big fan back then. But I was very surprised at how much I liked them.
And one of the things I love too is it's also, like you're saying, it's groove. There's every song grooved, but it was also riff rock too.
Yep.
It wasn't just big chords of like, on the 1 and the 4 or the 1 and the 2 and the 3 and whatever. They're riffing all through it, and he's able to sing over that.
Yep.
And I know some of the bands that we're referencing here, Bob, you're not hip to at the moment, but at one point, being a Melvins fan, as I was going through here, there's a couple of songs on here. I went, "That's the Melvins." That's literally, you could tell it's like they could have stepped right into that band as well. And but I was so pleasantly surprised at how much I liked this, because as we all know, life gets in the way and life stresses you out. And it got to the point I couldn't listen to music like this for years because I was so freaking stressed out that it just all this music grated on my nerves. If it wasn't like Kenny G, which I don't like Kenny G, but it had to be,
if it wasn't Kenny G,
it had to be
calm you down.
It had to calm me down. But man, I'm in a new
Maybe you
place.
could have listened to Starting Over. That would have helped.
Yeah.
But, that's right.
but with this album, of course, I'm in a new season of my life, right? I don't have that stress that I used to have and all that. So I've learned to relax. So listening to this now and knowing that it moved me instead of making me want to, pop some gummies and sit in the corner and listen to Kenny G. Yeah, right. I loved it. So anyway,
here we go.
All right, so we've not picked apart any songs yet, Bob, but as an album, as a band, what do you think?
As an album, I would rather slit my wrists and sit in a corner with
gummies.
Yeah.
And Kenny G.
I really didn't like it at all.
Wow.
I will say this, because I try to pick something
the
good.
positive and everything.
Yeah, a positive. The drummer and the bass player are awesome, no doubt. I mean, musically speaking, I can respect and even enjoy the chemistry.
Yep.
I can. So that part I don't despise. But I listened to it all the way through, and I thought, and I started to stop about 3 songs in and say, nope, not for me. But I thought, no, there's a respect factor, because I need to respect you guys, and the fact that you picked this means that there's something that's different than I'm used to, or different than I'm comfortable with. But I'll say this. I've recorded music in my past. Never have I sold 40 million records worldwide.
Right.
So there's something there that I can learn something from.
Yeah.
So even though I don't hate it. There's not much in the way of music that I hate, but it's not my cup of tea. And my wife gets crazy when I say that's not my cup of tea. But
well, I'll tell you,
it's just not my thing.
I'll tell you this. The reason why I was so curious is because you've shocked us already.
The mind crime really blew me
I
away.
thought you were going
And
to.
I really like that.
Yeah. Well, so that's why I was curious, because I knew this was way outside Brother Bob's comfort zone. But one of the things I love about you is what you just said, respecting what we're trying to accomplish here and each other. That that's me too, because when you picked Starting Over, I'd already listened to it once, and that wasn't mine.
And see, I went through that with Sturgill too, and my wife's like, "You got to listen to it."
Yeah.
I'm like, "You got a great point. I got to listen to it."
I mean, and that's the fun of it.
And here's another plus, is that listening to this, because it's like a requirement. You know, we've got to listen to it to
Or else
have
you're
any
fired.
opinion.
Is that what you're
Yeah.
saying?
What's that?
Or else you get fired.
Yeah, I don't want to get fired. I don't want it to become too uncool cats.
What would it take to get fired from the
I
three
don't know.
Uncool
We'll have to
Cats?
talk to HR.
You
about
can't get fired. We've got lifetime rates. But here's the thing. I'm finding myself enjoying the diversity
Oh yeah.
that I never would have experienced.
Yep.
Yeah.
And didn't really care to. My father, I wear these in honor of him. He was an old-time farmer, and talk about opinionated. When I started playing
And
rock
unwavering,
music,
too.
yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, I started playing Creedence Clearwater Revival, and it was like the world had ended. You know, I had gone off the deep end. So some of those traits have filtered down to me, where I'm a very opinionated when it comes to music. Yeah, I like the touchy-feely stuff. No, I don't like headbanging stuff because it makes me nervous. but the fact is, there's something there,
Yeah.
and it makes me very curious as to what it is.
Yeah.
So I thought, well, coming into this session, I'm going to come in and I'm going to listen to what you guys say.
Yeah.
And it impresses me. I'm wondering, what did it take for you to start listening to that kind of energy?
Yeah.
You know, that's so grungy and hard as nails and that kind of stuff.
That's a great question.
Well, see, I can answer that real
Answer-
quick.
Go ahead.
The
Go ahead.
first cassette tape I ever had,
Cassette.
Blizzard of Oz, Ozzy Osbourne.
Yeah.
So that's where I started.
But
then
but
grunge
was
kind
that
of.
given to you, or was that?
My brother was a big metalhead.
Gotcha.
Loved Randy Rhoads.
Yeah,
was
gotcha.
into all that.
Gotcha.
So that was my basis. And kind of like, not necessarily the farmer thing, but being so, I guess, opinionated about music is back in those days when you were a metalhead.
You didn't
Like,
listen. Yeah.
You didn't listen to anything
No.
outside of that. So,
Yeah.
and even stuff in there, like if you're a Metallica fan and somebody caught you with a Bon Jovi tape,
Oh,
you're going to get a reaming for that.
You're
I
gonna
mean-
get a swirly in the toilet bowl, buddy.
Wow.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where I come from.
So there was no
There's no diversity back then. Like
Yeah.
you were like, what do you listen to that for?
Yeah.
You know, and for lack of better terms, you know, we used to call each other the cat word all the time.
Yeah,
You know, and
right.
what do you listen to that pussy stuff for? You know,
Right.
like what are you, a baby? What are you, a girl? You know, that kind. You know, plug in Ride the Lightning and listen to that.
Yeah.
I loved all that stuff. But
But-
then in the background, like you, I'm sneaking Stevie Ray Vaughan.
That's
or
right,
something.
yeah.
I'm like, if they catch me listening to B.B. King, I'm
Yeah.
gonna be dead.
Well, and we talked about that in future episodes. That was me. Literally, that was me.
Yep.
All the guys I hung out with, great friends at the time in my life, man. You know, like you're saying, you're riding across country or just riding around town or whatever, and you're listening to all this music. It was always Metallica and stuff like that. So when I would go home, I'd listen to B.B. King and stuff like that. But then grunge hits. So to kind of to get to the heart of your question, why listen to something this aggressive? Okay, for me, it was an energy thing.
Yep.
It hit me at the right time in my life. I was at the right age where you know you've got all that young
The
man.
angst.
Yeah,
I had all the 90s angst.
you got
like,
all that
yep.
stuff, and then all of a sudden something like this comes along, and you're just like
Yep.
you've said it more than once in a conversation with me. You don't have bands today that have balls.
Yep.
Where's the balls? Where's the anger?
Yeah,
Where's
nobody's
the,
pissed off anymore.
Yeah.
It's just like, what happened to that?
But
I mean, I'm
he-
not saying you have to do this, but nobody's pissed off. You write some stupid rap song that means nothing.
Right.
Some country song that's talking about whiskey, hanging out in a boat.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like, where's your anger? There's a lot of stuff to be angry about. And no one is writing, no one wants to write,
appreciate, brother. Appreciate.
no one wants to write a thrash song about what the hell's going on.
Right,
I mean,
right. So with me, it wasn't an anger thing. It was just an energy. I loved the energy of these songs back in the day. But then, like I said, when life got in the way, it grated on my nerves, and I couldn't. But, so, does that answer your question?
It does, but I'm wondering why the focus. I've got a list of songs, and I was saving this for something else. I just want to read you some of the my favorites. bands that I listened to.
Mm-hmm.
But before I go there, let me bring up another point. Back in my day, and you have to think back, there
AM
was a
radio.
time we had that's where I started.
Oh my goodness!
That's where I remember being in school
Yeah.
and riding home from whatever and listening to the AM radio.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
therefore, your choices were limited in what you listened to because it was whatever was on the radio.
Right.
And I
So-
don't mean to offend you. Can I ask a quick question?
Sure.
When you were growing up, were you like Buddy Holly, like that era? Like, were you young enough to?
Just a touch after that.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Gotcha.
So, we had the radio, and then FM came along.
Yeah.
That was, that was impressive. And then, so you go through the sequence. After that was 8 tracks.
Yeah,
And
I remember 8-track.
I had 8-track.
Yeah.
We had a Kiss Alive 8-track, I think. it was.
So I mean, you started out with things that you had no choice. It was whatever was on the radio,
Yep.
and then you kind of formed your tastes and what you liked and what you didn't like that was on the radio, and then you went and you bought 8 tracks,
Yeah.
and then it starts to narrow down. Then you bought a cassette, and then
Yeah.
from there. But listen, I listened to my father. Played Buck Owens on the console stereo.
Okay,
in
now
the living
Buck
room.
Owens. When I was a
I'm down
kid,
for
no.
some Buck Owens.
When I was a kid, no. But now, Buck
Yeah.
Owens, yeah.
Well, there was Buck Owens, and I also really liked Led Zeppelin,
Yeah.
and I
Well,
still
then-
liked Buck Owens, and I liked Rita Coolidge, and I liked Leonard Skinner,
Okay.
and I liked Steely Dan.
Never
And
was
I
a
like-
big Steely Dan.
I wasn't
All's
either. Andy,
Still
my
is
wife
National
loves
Young.
them.
Yeah.
Vince Gill.
Yeah.
I mean, this is throughout my life, but my tastes are all over the place, and I like Kenny G.
I hate Kenny G.
I know you probably do, but I tell you my favorite CD right now
Yeah.
is Mark Baldwin, Winterlude,
Hmm.
and it's an instrumental,
Yeah.
mostly guitar.
Yeah.
And when I want to breathe and relax, that's what I put on.
Well, I'm similar. The guy that I've been into right now, and I've shared him with both of you guys, but you specifically because you said he looked like Abe Lincoln, is Julian Lage. He's a jazz guitar player, plays jazz on a telly, but man, what an amazing player. And it's not all that, I'm going to go to sleep jazz. I mean, he's doing some such cool stuff, but it's not going to make you angry, right?
Mm-hmm.
So now, if I can get back to what you're saying, though,
Teach me.
is Where the River Goes. Let's play the intro to Where the River Goes, okay? And I want to draw something to your attention.
Again, technical difficulties, people, because I'm an idiot.
All right, sing it.
Well, at least you called it. So you said you like Zeppelin, okay? So I don't know how you can't hear Zeppelin in this.
Oh, I can.
Almost like
I was
with
gonna
levee
pick
breaks.
that because that friggin' drum beat, that 3 little bass drum, that's pretty
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah. I could hear Zeppelin doing
I
something
can
like this.
too. I can too. And the song Plush
Oh yeah,
was the most musical
Yeah.
to me.
that's the song that made them famous.
Yeah.
That is the song.
There's a lot on here. That was the
Yeah.
thing I was gonna say too. Like when you were like, "Yo, we're gonna listen to this album," I'm like, "Cool," because I just know the stuff that was on the radio. Then probably 95% of this were songs on the radio.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
I mean, I swear there's maybe 3 songs that weren't on the radio
Yeah.
from this album.
Yeah, I mean, for
So
me,
how did you find that kind of music back in those days?
it was all over the
yeah,
radio.
MTV too.
Yeah.
That's back when MTV played
Yeah.
music.
Yeah.
So and they pushed it out. And for me, again, there was only one song on this album that was not good, and it was this little weird thing. It was almost Naked Sunday. It was almost like it was a different
Yeah,
band.
I didn't know what that was on there for.
I mean,
to
it
be honest
literally
with you.
didn't fit with anything in the rest of the album. And but for me, take that song out. This is a successful piece of art for this style of music, in my opinion. This made me.
This- yeah.
This did make me angry. I was like, gosh, it's just too much going on with it. But
So I'm a lyric guy, so what they have to say, it kind of puzzled me.
Well, we were talking about that too. It's like one of those bands that like he like melodically all the lyrics fit in perfectly. He sings them perfectly, but no one knows what the hell they mean.
yeah,
Yeah, and that to me is like, it does not compute.
yeah. He even says it at one point. I forget which song it is. He says it makes no sense. It's just for melody.
Yeah.
That's literally a line
Yeah.
in one of the songs. So if you could too, there's a couple of songs I wanted to bring your attention to. No Memory. No Memory. It's got a slow start, very acoustic,
Yeah.
moody.
Yeah.
The chord progression is almost something you would hear an Iron Maiden play. I mean, if you think about it, and but then it breaks out. It's got like a punk vibe to it, And
Isn't that the next song though?
is it? No.
This is No Memory here.
Yeah. So what's after No Memory? Sin? Oh, but you're right. Maybe it does. It goes into Sin. So that's where I'm getting to.
He hates them and he knows the album better than you do.
There you go, bro. Hey, bro. So when the punk part kicks in, when Sin kicks in, oh my gosh, it's so aggressive. It made me want to channel my 23-year-old self, and I wanted to go next door and kick that freaking Chihuahua that won't shut up right in his freaking apple Chihuahua head. He barks all the freaking time.
That poor dog.
I was ready. I literally, when this song came on, I said, I'm gonna go over and kick Tiki right in the face.
We do not condone any animal violence on this channel.
I mean, Chihuahuas are great warriors. I mean, if you think about it, they're the smallest dog on the planet, but they're like, by God, I'm gonna kick
And
everybody.
no one messes with them.
Right, but Tiki
even
won't
like
shut
Maggie.
up. Look, I go over there all the time. I knock on the door, and they answer the door, and I go, will you please stop Tiki from barking?
And they probably don't even think she's barking, do they?
Well, one day they opened the door. They had the stereo turned up so loud they couldn't. I think they turned it up so they couldn't hear
So they
Tiki.
drown her out.
So anyway,
This dog.
I know that took me.
dog.
He always looks at me like he's talking
knows,
crap
that's
about me.
why.
Right? He just looks at me.
He wonders why you're listening to that music.
So then, if you go to Piece of Pie, this carries on the Chihuahua thing, right? So listen, it's the biggest intro. I felt it's the biggest, heaviest intro. It makes me want a piece of pie, man. I was like, yes, I'm gonna eat a piece of pie. I'm gonna kick that dog's ass again, man. Just to do it.
I'm gonna kick the dog, then have a piece of cherry pie.
Yeah.
But
I
listen
have
to
to question.
And this is the song where I heard the Melvins the most in. Plasticine. This
Oh,
is
yeah,
very
yep,
much like
yep.
Plasticine, man. So, the Melvins. A couple of episodes back, I was wearing that shirt that had the kids playing with the dog with two heads. That was the Melvins. That was their T-shirt.
All of a sudden we have this huge dog theme.
Man, I'm
For
sorry.
the cats, man.
I'm sorry. Look, I love cats. I mean, I love dogs too. I do. I've got a dog, right? But I love cats because I don't know. I just
They
like
just don't
You're just so uncool.
But I'm sorry for if my neighbor ever hears this. It's just beef I got with Tiki.
Well,
It's
they won't
just-
hear it because the dog's barking so loud
Right.
they won't hear it.
If Tiki would shut up, life would be so much better. So. All right, so yeah, so I guess the last song that I want to bring up is it Creep? That's the Wounded Hand song.
Yep.
Yeah. So
I've got one I want to bring up
Yeah.
too. When you get done.
So this is the one where I know as a lyricist you were gonna hate. This was a huge hit for him.
It's Creep.
Yeah.
So now, I feel he does great singing it.
I think his voice is. I don't know what the hell he's talking about.
No.
But I think it's great.
But this is where it's Take Time with the Wounded Hand because it wants to hit.
This is one that I thought I could listen to.
It's funny. Everyone you love, he hates, and vice versa. That's awesome. This is the worst Chris Stapleton song
obviously-
I've ever heard. I love that song.
Obviously, this one's toned down a little bit. And I think it's the volume and the violence in the music that makes me nervous.
Maybe so. Maybe so. So,
So I can play this one and listen to it, not understand the lyrics, just like we've talked about many times, and I can get through. You know?
so you know what I think you
It's got
ought to
harmony.
do? Yeah. Yeah. But again, this shows you they had hits off of this from the big heavy stuff, and this was a massive hit too. So for them, they were able to kind of hit, chill and heavy in the '90s with
So
success.
if you listen to that song with your friends, did they think, well,
No, because it's
That's
part of
not a-
Stone Temple Pilots. That's a cool band.
that's okay. So I'm starting to get it a little bit, you know.
There was a lot of peer pressure back
It made
in
no
the
sense, really.
Now, now, there's one thing I'd like you to do. If you can go to the end of Sex Type Thing,
Yeah, that's a great song too, man. It's such a groove.
because
song.
Alan was talking about hating songs where they just do the same lyric over and over. And
Oh, where he
over
goes,
and
I am,
over.
I am, I am.
Yeah, I got you. I got you.
No, I was saving up for that.
You want me to go all the way to the end?
Yeah, he called me out on that
Yeah.
because I was literally just talking about that Hillbilly Blood on the last episode. But listen to just the energy.
I like the little pig squeals.
Yes.
Little feedback.
So the pig squeals. My son comes to me, he's in this death metal band, and he comes to me and he says, "How do you do a pig squeal?" And I said, "So I show him. It's a little bit of a tricky thing to do."
Once you figure it out, it's
So
easy,
he
though.
comes back and he goes, after he got it, he goes, "Will you listen to our new song? They wrote
Is
this
it all
song."
pig squeals?
It was so full of pig squeals. I said, "What are you doing?" He goes, "Funny, right?" He goes, "I was trying to see how many times I could put a pig squeal into the song."
He did a Zach Wild guitar
Yes, it
solo.
was hysterical. Oh, on the rhythm you were hearing pig squeals. So it's just...
Let me go deeper in.
Yeah, right
if I
at the
could.
end, like about the last 18 lines. It's all one phrase. I think I made my point. You probably don't have to. It's making me nervous.
Right here.
Oh, yeah.
This is pretty much goes till the end.
Yeah, and it's like a full minute and a half.
Forever and
Yeah.
ever. Yeah.
So, Bob,
He's just trying to prove a point, Bob.
Yeah.
He's coming, all right?
yeah, he's
He's
coming.
giving you a warning.
That's right. So,
Here he comes.
Yeah, I appreciate you getting through that. Cause,
Well,
yeah,
I intend to get through anything you throw at me, but
and vice versa.
Did you listen to it once all the way through or more than once?
more than once.
Yeah. That's the thing you're going to find out about Bob
Yeah.
as you become his friend. If he tells you he's going to do something, he's going to do it.
I just felt like when I saw that 40 million albums, that is a lot of
That's
albums.
a lot.
And I thought there's more to it than I'm.
And this isn't their big one. Plush was their big one.
That's right. So let me.
Or Purple?
Yeah, Purple.
Yeah, Purple, yeah.
Purple was one of my favorites. It was very similar to this, but I don't know. It had a slightly different vibe to it. But so, what do you think that thing is, Bob, that made them sell 40 million albums?
I haven't.
Drugs.
There it is.
See, that's how I feel about Jimi Hendrix. The only way that he was as big is because people were high. I mean, I appreciate what he did. I mean, he did.
Yeah.
He was
Yeah.
one of those guys that when he hit the scene, he changed music, and people were like, literally, I've seen interviews. They go, "You could do that with a guitar,"
Yeah.
but I can't listen to him, man. It just grates on my nerves.
I understand, and I've come to realize, I think, that there are going to be those. And listen, there's country music that I cannot stomach,
Yeah,
but there's some that I just love, and I'm finding out that I'm probably a country guy. I mean, when it comes right down to it,
yeah,
I'm a country guy, and I always thought of myself as rock.
yeah.
But there are so many degrees of every genre
Yeah.
that you can find something to love and something to hate in just about any of it.
And that's cool.
Mind crime, why would I like
Yep.
that?
Yeah.
Yep.
But I did. And, and right down to Sturgill Simpson. I really didn't care for his, I don't know whether it's the delivery or the use of lyrics, whatever, but there was a lot of it that really appealed to me
Yeah.
musically.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking that's my focus is more the music than it is all the hype and all the
I think
stuff that
something
surrounds it.
kind of to go off of that. I think something I get out of all this is I might steal a little riff here and there,
Yeah.
even if I don't like the music. Like that's a little cool little
Yeah.
bass or something. That's a
Yeah.
cool little guitar part.
Well, that's
You know?
some famous person said that, what is it? Said that, great artists steal from each other.
I said
Mhm.
that.
Yeah.
Well, case in point, Joe
You
Biden.
probably did. I don't know. I can't tell you what I did at noon, let alone at 4:57 p.m. on a Friday.
Plagiarism
Yeah.
at work.
But it's how you, if you're gonna steal it, what are you
Yep,
gonna do with
exactly,
it? You got to
yep.
do something with it.
Yep.
But here, Bob, I'm hip to what you're saying here. Okay.
What am I saying? I don't know.
Over the
It's
last
the medicine.
Yeah. Over the
It's the
last
medicine, Bob.
few episodes, you're a lyricist. You're a lyrics guy. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And you want lyrics to say something, mean something, and you want your lyrics to take you somewhere that you feel, even if it's sad, you want to be taken somewhere that you don't feel like you need to get exercised.
Kick a chihuahua.
Yeah, or kick a chihuahua, right? Well, if you do this chihuahua. So, but like with you, I struggle with this too because I want my lyrics to make sense, and I don't want to sing about just satanic stuff, and I don't want to sing about murdering people and all that kind of stuff. But if you cut all that stuff out right now, you're never going to resonate with somebody else's lyrics 100% because, like with Sturgill Simpson, right? As much as I love his music, some of the stuff that he sings about, I totally disagree with.
Yeah.
But I love his realness, right? So there are times that I have to step away from the lyric and go, I'm letting the music move me.
Right.
But then that gets back to something you brought up in one of the first episodes is, what's the argument of, are you still being influenced with those lyrics? But I stopped listening to probably 4 of my favorite bands for almost a decade because I was like, I can't take those lyrics. Mm-hmm. But then I realized I kept cutting more and more and more and more people out. So as a musician, I said, all right, am I going to let them inspire me instrumentally? Or am I just going to cut it out completely? So I started just saying, I'm going to listen to music for the music. Mm-hmm. And if they do say something I like, great.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think I'm there too.
Yeah. Because it's hard to, because you're always going to be put off by somebody's lyric.
And too, something that you brought up early on here is that song, regardless of what it says, it took you back to a place in your life that had meaning to you, where that song was part of it.
Yeah.
And so to completely scrap the kind of music you listen to because your beliefs may have changed or whatever, well, what are you doing?
Yeah.
That was part of your life.
Yeah.
It's like relationships,
Yeah. It played a role.
My seventh wife was part of my life.
Right.
And
That's weird. She was part of mine too.
That's because y'all said y'all live fairly close together up there. So I would say I like to say that when you hear something like that, it's time travel. Because it is.
Me too.
It is. It's time travel. So
and I love time travel.
I do. Really? Yeah.
Yeah.
So when you're transported back, with the vehicle and music. So musical time travel, we're coining that phrase right now. It's going to be a T-shirt.
Or teleportation. I like when they
Yeah.
take you somewhere where you're not.
Yeah,
You're sitting in your chair, but you're not in that chair
That's
when you're
right.
listening to that too.
that's right. So the
I've got a
power.
story for that later for another episode.
Cool. I can't wait to hear it. But you're right. It's the power of it that when it takes you back, you go, man, I remember that. I'm not that guy anymore, but man, I remember that.
Yeah.
You know? And like you said with your seventh wife, you know, by the time you got to wife number 12, you're no longer that man that went through
I'm not that
11.
You
man
finally
anymore.
figured it out.
so you're a better man for it. So
Well,
That 45th grandkid, you're finally a good granddad
I'll
too.
tell you what.
you know,
You got to do what you got to do.
my sister, when she called me after she listened to our last episode, she goes, there's two uncool cats and then there's Bob. She goes, I love Bob. She's going to hear this story. She's going to go, do I love Bob?
He's not so uncool. He's not so cool anymore.
Do I love Bob with all those wives?
Boy, on that note, are we gonna wrap up with that?
Yeah,
note?
I think it's a good
All right.
one.
Yeah.
I have to thank y'all for letting me rant so much on
no
this.
problem.
That's okay. That's okay. Thanks for introducing me to Stone Temple Pilots.
We have our three
And that's
questions. Are we doing our usual three questions?
I want to ask my new one.
All right.
Yeah, I like my new one. And no, I was going to give Bob two questions. this
Oh,
time.
that's
Go for
right.
it.
You don't have a question.
I don't
on
have a
this one.
question.
I a while back I had said my question, well, at least for this week, is going to be your two favorite songs on this album and why,
Okay.
and then your least favorite.
Okay. My two favorite would be Piece of Pie, and it would be I would have to say, not Creep. Probably Where the River Goes. I like that one a lot too. That one that we already talked about, like Wet My Bed or something, it was just terrible.
Yeah.
Naked Sunday.
Yeah,
Hated
Naked
it.
Sunday.
Hated it.
Yeah.
No, hated it. No.
Well, good. There's hope for you.
My two favorites are Dead and Bloated and Wicked Garden, just because of the groove. And
Yeah,
I mean, it kind of beats you over the head. I like it.
your
And the
least-
worst one is Naked Sunday.
Yeah,
Naked Sundays.
it's terrible.
Yeah.
It's like a different band.
It's a throwaway.
Right, yeah. Literally, I thought that too. I was telling my wife, I said, it's like they were contracted
They're
for
like,
12
we
songs.
need one more.
Yeah. Well,
Well,
let's
shit,
write
let's work
something
that Naked Sunday song and see what we get.
that the drummer wrote, because you know it's a drummer song. So,
Well, my favorites were,
None of them.
well, of the album, Plush was I felt the best, and Creep was second. And I guess the one I least liked was the Wet My Bed.
Yeah.
That was just sick.
yeah, it was a tie between that and
Yeah.
and Naked Sunday for me.
Yeah. So anyway, I got through it. Glad I went.
Yeah.
Cool.
So, all right.
I'm still sticking with my question,
Okay.
because my dad was a teacher, so
Yeah.
kind of an ode to my dad.
Yeah.
Should this be taught in schools?
Bob?
No.
All right, so you have to back that up then. Why not?
It's too
There's no redeeming qualities.
I just feel like you'd have generations of kids wanting to stomp a Chihuahua. That's just what it lends itself to.
Well, all right. So you're saying it would contribute to the violence.
Yeah, that's
Of-
it.
of
That's
kids.
That's the overall theme. Yeah.
So I would have to say, would you want to? I would say, if I was teaching it in schools, I would teach it, yes, because this band is so locked into the groove. And they are grooving, and they're writing. And you know, sometimes you listen to a band, and you go, okay, by the fourth song, it's still kind of the same groove. You know, these are all different riffs that they're doing, and then the singing over that. You know, as a singer, how difficult would it be to
That
be
would be
playing over a
tough.
song that's that busy?
That would be tough.
Right? So there's a lot of musicality in it, whether you like it or not. But I would not teach the lyric. You can't use this for lyric
Right.
writing because it's nonsensical.
And that's what I wrote down for Plush. it's lyrically void.
Well, I think it should be taught in schools, and fully agree. I think it should be taught just because of the groove and the backbeat.
Okay,
I think it's a lesson in drumming and bass.
Yeah.
To be honest with you,
teach the groove.
Yeah.
and as far as the lyrics, I say teach the lyrics. Let's teach these people some interpretation. Let's see what the kids think they mean. Maybe they can tell us what they mean.
Teachers won't even know what they mean.
But that's the best part, though.
So before we end, then let's put that to the test. We'll take one. I'll present the lyric, and we'll each. Bob, what does it mean? Take time with a wounded hand because it likes to heal. Because it likes to heal. Because it likes to heal. Because he says it over and over and over and over. Okay, so
and then it likes to steal.
Oh,
too.
it does like to steal. So yeah, what do you think's going on with that wounded
I
hand?
have an interpretation of that.
So I want to hear your interpretation, but I'll hear his first.
What was the question again?
What does it mean? What's your interpretation of that
What
lyric?
do you feel it means? Take time with a wounded hand because it likes to heal.
Well, let me tell you about the time that I cut the end off my finger,
Which he did.
and I had to take time with it because I was supposed to play.
Which he was.
And
He could have
Well,
done a
play-
Tony
play the
Iommi thing
guitar.
and put
I
the
tell
thing
you-
Which he
over
did.
it.
my wife made me a prosthetic
Nice,
cover
Yeah.
for the end of my finger, and I duct taped it on and ended up playing the guitar with a cap on that finger.
I saw him do it.
Nice.
Yeah.
Tony Iommi
And
did
so-
that his whole career.
So take time with an injured hand. I had to take time with it, and what was the last part of it?
Because it
'Cause it
likes to heal.
Yeah, it likes to heal.
It was really liking to heal.
All right, so there you go. What a great question. So look, we have figured out, Bob, you resonated with that song
I
now.
did. I resonated with that song.
All right,
I
so
love that song. No.
What's your interpretation?
My interpretation is when you're wounded, I feel his wounded hand is psychologically wounded.
Yeah.
You just need to take time and settle, think about it, just take time and let it heal itself, rather than trying to rush it or overthink things
Yeah.
or trying to.
Like he's overthinking this analysis.
Hey man, you asked. I'm telling
No,
you.
it's a great question. No, and
You know, I try to open myself up. I really do.
Are we huggers? I just don't know how far we're supposed to take that.
Not after that.
Oh, that would have been funny if you got. Oh, it's all right, man.
I want to kick
See, you
it.
didn't even come to my defense. You're like, fuck this guy.
So I take my interpretation is it's from the Addams Family. It's thing,
Thing.
and he's hurt and he's got to heal.
There you go.
Okay.
See, poetry is a
I guess
beautiful
it's
thing.
open to interpretation.
So there you go. Andrew made about that's probably the most that he's contributed in 5 episodes. That was well thought out.
thanks,
really
man.
good, Andrew.
Yeah.
You know, I consider myself a poet, I guess.
Man, let me know if there's anything I can do for
Sure,
you,
man.
because I feel you need some tender loving
Psychological analysis.
care. Yeah. We're gonna have to tell his wife.
So I guess we're at wrap up stage.
Okay.
So since this, so we've wrapped it up. We've asked our 3 questions. I'll let you end it for us,
Well,
Andrew.
as always, thanks, Bob, Alan. It
Yeah.
was a good time.
Yeah, it's fun.
A little reminiscing
Yep.
on this one for us.
We went back.
The music time machine.
Wow.
Yeah.
But you guys did.
With that, first of all, before we get into our usual, don't kick a chihuahua.
No, don't kick
Love
a
your
chihuahua.
chihuahuas.
Love your chihuahua.
Subscribe, comment, like, share, tell friends.
Give us 5 stars.
Help a brother out.
We appreciate you.
Don't kick a chihuahua. Deuces.
Over now.
So, all right.